2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Not all bread is created equal. And if you like yours soft, fluffy, moist, and delicious, then Hero Bread and Buns should be your first choice. But Hero Bread isn't just about taste and texture. It's high in fiber with ultra-low net carbs with 0 grams of sugar. Order today at hero.co and use the code AH10 to get 10% off your first purchase. That's AH10 at hero.co, HERO.co for 10% off your first purchase.
All right, Panther fans, what's the deal? Tony John here. It's tough sledding as the Panthers crawl to the finish line of the season, dropping their 7th straight game. The long downward descent. But we're here. Only one more post-game show after this one to accomplish. But we're not giving up on our Panthers. Some of those Panther fans were missing in action at Bank of America Stadium. And we don't want you to be missing any action. So go ahead and subscribe to the C3 Panthers podcast. Join us on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Call into the show right now, 252-228-5098. Cody Lashney in the house. Another defeat in the books for the Carolina Panthers. It's starting to be a feeling that we're accustomed to, sadly.
It is, but wait a minute. Did you smell that? Did you smell that? Because it kind of smells like a top 10 draft pick, baby. Let's go. We're on the way there. Call me Mr. Brightside. What's up? We're here for the post-game show. Listen, man, the season's been over. I'm not going to be upset and depressed about it, but I'm ready to talk about it with all the fans in the chat, with my man Tony Dunn. Let's do it, baby.
Okay, so I guess in good news is that Christian McCaffrey continues to be a stud. He reached 100 catches, set the record for a running back with, I think, 103. Past Matt Forte, and also third running back in NFL history to have 1,000 rushing yards and 100 catches in a season. He's been productive. I felt like we've seen plenty of him. And I'm actually very happy that they started to sit him late in that game. Christian McCaffrey seems to be the key component to this offense heading into 2019, though, doesn't he?
Absolutely, man. He is absolutely worth the 8th pick in the draft that we used on him. He's absolutely incredible, man. They were even commenting during the game, if we have an oxygen tent in the back, McCaffrey is going to need to sleep in that sucker. Dude, he's everywhere. He's running the football, catching the football. He's a multi-purpose weapon. He's the definition of the modern NFL running back. And, that's going to be Cam Newton's best friend for the rest of his time here in Carolina. He's incredible.
The Panthers fall 24-10. That makes us 6-9 on the season after starting 6-2. We now hold the identical record to the Atlanta Falcons, and they have swept us. This is if anything, this is upsetting just for the very fact that that the Atlanta Falcons and their fan base have found some solace in beating the Carolina Panthers. But like you said, is that I don't know if winning this game in the end helps us in the long run. I do think we got to see some important players out there today. So let's talk about this. The first thing in this that we should probably address is Ian Rappaport reports before the game that it looks like Ron Rivera will be returning for 2019. And this is one of those things. We talk about burning the tape of a game. You're almost talking about burning the tape of a season, but hopefully they're going to be able to learn from that. Now, your reaction to Ron Rivera returning in 2019. I know that you've been calling for the Band-Aid to be ripped off.
I mean, listen, I know it's Ian Rappaport and he's an insider. And I mean, obviously he has information and sources that we don't have and we never will. But I don't know. To me, that just doesn't – I mean, maybe it's me being optimistic. I don't know. I think that if you look at this season and all of the miscues and everything that went wrong and, you know, going on Ron Rivera's 9th season, I don't know. It still doesn't seem set in stone to me that we would have Ron Rivera for another year. If we do, and I think I even asked you this early, it's hard to imagine Panther fans being very excited about our prospects for the next year. I mean, you would have the draft and free agency, and that would kind of get the motors running on the excitement train. But I just don't know that Ron Rivera has what it calls for from a coach to be able to take us all the way. And I think a lot of fans think that as well.
You know, it's tough to say. I do think that there is I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Ron coming back. I think we've had a good team since he's been here. I think, if anything, the one sad thing about Ron Rivera at this point is I don't feel like he's getting better as a coach. And that might be that he's plateauing. We've seen the best of Ron Rivera, but we haven't seen Ron Rivera either with the most talented teams in the league outside of the defense. And then you saw this year a defense that struggled mightily. So I don't know, is that I think if you do move on from Ron Rivera, you don't do it just to move on from Ron Rivera, but to essentially you would have to have a real plan lined up. So now the excitement factor right now, I'm going to say there is very little excitement. I'm calling out Panther fans at this point. Bank of America Stadium looked empty today. Reports of fans piling out of there early. Conversations, even views on our videos are down so much, and it shows you how much winning solves everything and losing continues to add problems. But how do we generate excitement from what you saw, Cody, if it's not from Ron Rivera? And I think that there's a couple of names to point to that are exciting. The first and foremost is Curtis Samuel. Continues to show to me that he's ready to be an NFL football player. And that there's a lot of fight in that boy.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about, you know. I even tweeted it out. I forget who it was. They posted the picture of fans just leaving the stadium around the end of the third quarter. And I tweeted out, I hope David Tepper is looking at this, because this is now David Tepper's organization. And if he wants to implement changes and get fans to be really excited about the Carolina Panthers in the month of December, now it starts with him. And now he has the opportunity to show what kind of leadership he is going to put forth over this organization. And as much as, you know, and again, I even feel we are a little bit different on this perspective, but as much as I feel as though Ron Rivera has done good things for us, I think that if you just try out Ron Rivera and Marty Herney as the GM for another year, you're really not giving, these fans a whole lot to look forward to. And yeah, I am disappointed in the fans as well. But at the same time, I mean, you're looking at a watered-down Carolina Panthers that aren't playing for anything. I don't know, man. It's tough to be too upset.
I do think that we always complain about not getting respect as a team from the national media, from and we get insulted by being called a small market when Charlotte is this great city to live in. But right now, I do feel that the fan base is remarkably fickle, and that we need to be able to generate our own excitement instead of being petulant children who just need to be entertained entirely. Now, that is not a pass to the team in the poor product that's been out there. But if we do want to change the culture, i.e. the Roaring Riot moniker, is it starts with their fans being just as angry and excited as being happy and excited when things are going as well. So I do want to see the fans more involved. And if that's for more calls for Ron Rivera's head, if that's becoming finding scapegoats, I think that's also part of being a fan to a certain degree. And not that I want people to be attacked, but I need to see if we can't be excited about Ron Rivera, how do we get up for next year? I think there are some things to see. And that is, I think today we saw how important Cam Newton is to the success of the Carolina Panthers. Give a clap for Heinicke for playing like an Iron Man, coming out there and fighting through the injury and playing hard, celebrating his first NFL start ever. But what we're seeing is that Cam Newton is the reason that Ron Rivera has been a successful coach. And he's the reason that we have been every week competitors and really relevant since 2011.
Cam Newton has made an average head coach, a subpar offensive coordinator in Mike Shula, and for the most part, a consistently decent to bad offensive line look incredible his entire time here in Carolina. Cam Newton is the shining gem of the Carolina Panthers. And now everyone's on Twitter talking about, man, our offensive line is terrible. They didn't give Taylor any time to throw the football. It's almost like I've been saying that for months at a time. Listen, man, I mean, your hat has to go off to Taylor. And he was playing hurt at the end, trying to stand in the pocket that didn't exist and make some big boy throws. And he did his best. And, after learning about his father and everything he said leading up to the football game, even though it was a loss, he has nothing to be upset about. He did his father proud today here in Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah, it was painful watching him play through that. A lot of people asking why didn't we go with Allen, who filled in admirably in the second quarter after that initial injury. And this is that here is, and Cody, I know that you've been going back and forth with Brother Herbert for like 8 weeks on the Panthers offensive line.
Yeah.
The thing with the Panthers offensive line is that when we complimented this year and said that early on that it played to be above expectation, what we have to recognize too is that Cam Newton, first of all, this is not the worst offensive line that Cam Newton has played behind in his time there. And that's a travesty at the same time. That is an absolute travesty that this has been a problem that this team has not been able to remedy and rectify since Jordan Gross's retirement. That was the last time the offensive line was worth a damn. But to me, this again shows just how Cam can make a terrible – he's the only quarterback in the world that can work with this. And then you expect it to be like this, is that you look at that and you go, oh, well, they're playing pretty well. Well, Cam made it so they played mediocre and not awful.
Yeah, listen, I mean, look at how the games that we've lost in the past, few weeks in a row, minus Pittsburgh, they've all been close. And then look, Cam Newton is not on the field today, and look what happens. They win by, 2 touchdowns? I mean, listen, Cam Newton, and that's why it infuriates me, and I will never be upset that someone says, oh, I defend Cam Newton too much, or same thing with you as well. I'll defend Cam Newton to the death, because I know what he does for this football team, man. And I put this out on Twitter also. A pass rusher in the first round, man, that's fun. It's exciting having a dominant pass rusher. That's awesome. But it's time for this organization to spend a premium pick on the offensive line. It's been time. You have to protect your crown jewel, your investment, Cam Newton. And if he doesn't have time to throw the football, or we don't have enough to run the football consistently, and Christian's always having to make magic on his own, then we're dead on arrival. The offensive line has to be addressed.
All right, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. This is the post-game show after a 24-10 loss, the last home game of the season. And the Carolina Panthers are in it's just a burning trash heap on Bank of America Stadium. You can be a part of the show by calling 252-228-5098. Here's our first call.
Hey guys, it's Cody from up here in Roanoke, Virginia, just calling in here at the end of this game. I want to address all the people who just want to blame our losses on Cam Newton and just show how garbage that offensive line played. And Taylor Heinicke played decently, but, once again, he wasn't clutch. And a lot of the plays that he didn't make, Cam Newton's been able to make. So, anybody who tries to argue that we're better off without Cam Newton, watch this game and then just realize how ignorant you are and then, move on from there. Once again, I enjoy Cam Newton. I get frustrated by the inconsistency, certainly, but he gives us the best opportunity to win. And if nothing else, this loss today is going to prove that. Either way, happy with the ending. Would have liked to not see Taylor Heinicke throw 3, but, Christian McCaffrey breaking the receptions by a running back record is pretty sick. Really interested to see how his career progresses and whatnot. I really, really think the main objects are going to be our lines in the draft, and we're going to find that out. Not only did we find that out today, but next week against New Orleans once we're in their dome. I think they're gonna run all over us, unfortunately. So, guys, just wanted to hop in, put my 2 cents in, shut up all the Cam haters and make them realize that, there's more to this team than the quarterback that's the problem. And, with the quarterback doing somewhat a decent job today, still couldn't make things happen because the line couldn't keep him clean. So blame it on Cam all you want. But, it's clear that the deficiencies are in the offensive line, which we once thought was going to be a weakness. Then we thought it was a strength. Now we are, realizing that it really is a weakness and that we were just game planning around the weakness that our offensive line was. So, anyway, guys, just keep pounding, enjoy the rest of the season, Merry Christmas. And I appreciate all you guys do. Would like to, be a part of that shindig thing one time, but I'll leave that to maybe a Tuesday night on my way home from work or something. But all right, guys, talk to you later.
There you
Bye.
go, man. That's a fantastic call right there. Really hits on so many levels there. And look, just download the app and you can be a part of the shindig. It's that simple. But again, that's what we see. I think the reason I like that call so much is because Cody said it's frustrated by, yes, we're all frustrated by Cam Newton's inconsistencies at times. We're all frustrated by imperfection when we see, and to be fair is that like, how much has he done so well, but you can throw 9 perfect passes and throw 1 dud. And we're going to focus and talk about the dud because it is the one that we wanted or we needed. But at the end of the day, that's right. Is that Cam Newton, his inconsistencies are way down on the list of the important problems facing this Carolina Panthers team. And when he said we got to invest in the lines, both offensive line and defensive line, Cody, I think that while you're saying go and pick somebody high up in the draft, I believe at the same time, this is going to take radical surgery and a twofold effort of going and getting a premier guy potentially in free agency as a guard or some sort of, you can't just do this alone through the draft.
Yeah. And you see, I wasn't on the show at this point, but that's why in my mind, even though it would have cost a ton of money, that's why I was a fan of paying Andrew Norwell whatever he wanted. I mean, even though we would have had Turner and Andrew Norwell, listen, man, you live and die by your offensive line. And, I'll give this to Van Ruten. He did a great job early in the season. But, once he started to face some of the better defensive tackles that the NFL had to offer, I mean, he just kind of looked lost out there. He missed a bunch of assignments. And, I wanted to retain Andrew. But it kind of makes me wonder, and I don't know off the top of my head, maybe you do. I don't even know who's available in free agency that you could bring in right now that would even be considered an upgrade at this point to our offensive line. So it all depends on who's out there. But listen, it doesn't matter if it's in the free agency or in the draft, as long as we're making an effort to bolster the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the football. I mean, that's what I want. That's what every fan should want right now.
Not all down from a ball, and we're bringing in to ask your question.
Hey, Tony, you're breaking up like really, really bad. Maybe you might want to jump out and come back in, because you sound straight up like a robot. So
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was going to say is that to answer your question about when the free agents that are out there is that we won't know really until the change of the calendar year. And then you're going to start seeing some people offload some guys because of salary and some things, what the true free agency market looks like. So we've got Josh from Mass, though, drove down from Massachusetts to attend this game, his first Carolina Panthers home game. And we're going to bring him in to get a kind of a feel for what the game was like and what he saw. Josh, man, long drive. Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Or am I
long
like
drive for you. Are you guys? When are you guys heading home?
No, I got good signal.
He can't hear us.
Hey, can you hear us, Josh?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, no?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool.
Cody, it sounds like he can't hear me well, so you lead it.
Yeah, Josh. So listen, man, you were our eyes and ears on the field today. Tony and I were talking about this earlier, so let me ask you, what was the feel amongst the crowd today? Do you think it was a poor showing? And were as many people leaving in the third quarter as it sounded like on Twitter?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. People leaving. Never mind people leaving. There was a lot of empty seats in general.
Yeah.
I mean, from the get-go, and there wasn't a whole lot of Falcons fans, but there was, I'd say, probably 1 in 10 people there was a Falcons fan, which, for a home game for any team, that's too many. I mean, they're always going to creep their way in. You can't stop people from buying tickets. It's free world. But yeah, the vibe there, aside from some of us who were just downright insistent on making a ruckus every chance we got, every third down, every time our defense was on the field, there was a lot of people who were just sitting down, being quiet. And it's like, well, that doesn't help the team any.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't. Yeah, go ahead.
And then, something else I noticed was it seemed real easy for some of the people for the wind to just get taken out of their sails, per se. It's just by some little thing, and it's, an incomplete pass would make everybody go, oh, it's like, all right, well, that sucks, but it's, there's 2 more downs, or there's 1 more down, or there's more to it. And, maybe my attitude is a little different since I came from Massachusetts to come to the game. So for me, it's I'm finally here. I'm finally getting to see it. So maybe my mentality is a little different than most, but I mean, shit, I gotta say, if I was local to this area, I'd be at as many games as I could, and I'd be as loud as I could, win, lose, or draw. And there was a lot of us who were, at least in my section, that were pretty loud right up until the end of the, until it was obvious that it was done, until that last change of possession. But I think this game, in a lot of ways, as a loss is never a good thing, but I think this kind of showed that the O-line really is as bad as a lot of us have been saying. It's been I think it's been a lot of the problem with Cam. I think they're to blame for the fact that Cam is dealing with these injuries in the first place. You don't just partially or completely tear a rotator cuff by not getting hit. It doesn't just happen. You can sprain things. You can maybe tear a labrum if your throwing motion is real bad, but not like this. So I think this was kind of the final display of, well, not the final display. There's one more week, sweet Jesus. But the final, it was the up close and personal view of, this O-line looks as bad in person as it does on TV week in and week out. The D-line looked just soft, man. It is soggy, boiled macaroni and noodles out there. It was bad.
That brings me to my next question. When the defense was on the field, did you ever have a sense that, the Panthers were going to be able to make a stop here or be able to stop Mohamed Sanu and Julio Jones from just driving down the field whenever they wanted to?
No. There was never a feeling of, all right, our boys can get the stop. Now, granted, there's a few times they did, and God bless them for it. But, and then another problem I saw was the lack of urgency with the offense in the left. We had the ball down 2 scores. We had all 3 timeouts. There's 6 minutes left and change, and we're only down by 2 scores. That should be a closable gap. Even for an average team, you should be able to close that gap to 1 score and then not be looking 24-10. This very easily could have been 24-17 or even 24-23, that type of deal real easily. It was just miscues and just little stuff that came up every single play. Those little things won't kill you unless they're happening every single play. And it was just sloppy. It was a mess, and there was no urgency. It wasn't until that last drive and we're past the 2-minute warning and we're going to the hurry up finally. It's like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And and then we had, I forget what the play was early in the game, but there was a lot of us calling for Ron to throw the challenge flag. There wasn't even a thought about it. It was like, oh, well, it is what it is. It's like, really? Yeah. You're not even going to try? And then, of course, we had the atypical Ron Rivera wasting at least 1 timeout today, at least 1.
Yeah.
And then we get these reports. I saw it, was it this morning or late last night? It came out that there's a solid chance, most likely, he's going to be there next year too. I mean, granted, he's brutal. Not the whole problem, but man, so I mean, I don't expect massive changes as far as personnel and in terms of coaching this coming year. I expect the big changes as far as talent to be coming this year through the draft. I don't expect us to make big free agent deals because we're not going to have the cap space for it. We're just not, which sucks to say because I think a lot of us who are diehards at this point would really like to think that after this kind of embarrassment at the end of the year, that there's going to be some urgency in fixing the problems and fixing the issues. But you look at the way things are addressed on the field and you're like, well, they're not quick about dealing with that, and those are things you can deal with quickly. You can tell the guys, no, we got to go the hurry up. Here's your, you got your cheat sheet of plays on your wrist, so you get a first down and just keep going. You don't wait 30 seconds to get up there and snap the ball again. You're giving them too much time. You're giving them too much room. And there were times where you couldn't tell whether it looked like they gave up or whether they were just defeated, just mentally defeated. And then some of those big runs that they got on us, man, stuff where, they're bouncing off of one of our guys and they break off another 20 yards. Man, what is that? What is that? It doesn't help that. And then here's another problem. This week, it rained all up and down the East Coast, as I can attest. We drove down, left Thursday night, and it rained from the time we left Massachusetts all the way till we got into Charlotte. I mean, sometimes it looked like the second half of Jurassic Park, and sometimes it was just a drizzle, but the point is it rained the whole time. And then the team, come to find out, had to practice in a hotel ballroom.
Yeah,
I know. It's so embarrassing, man. It's so embarrassing.
You're not even giving the guys a chance to win, and then you come out with this slop game plan that's, and no discredit to Heinicke. I'm sure he was giving it everything he had. I'm not a believer in him by any means, though. He's a liability.
Well, how do you think Taylor played today? I mean, were you seeing a lot of open wide receivers that he was missing, or?
Yeah, he was doing a lot of the stuff that Cam gets criticized for. Balls that are a little high or overthrown, and then of course, you got Devin Funchess out there, so that's good for a couple lack of effort plays there. But I mean, he didn't look like the worst quarterback I've ever seen. Because I saw Jimmy Clausen. We've all seen that. So there's
also how much of that do you think is he just had no time to throw the football? I mean, that offensive line was obliterated at every single turn. I mean, Grady Jarrett he could do it. He could do whatever he wanted today. Whatever he wanted.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were times where I think he had time, and that's what made it disappointing. Is there's times where he had time, he had an open man, and he just threw it right over some guy's head. There was a couple plays where he threw it right over DJ Moore, and it's like, and then there was that one towards the end of the game where DJ should have had that. There's no questions. He should have had that. It's come on, man. It's the end of the game. It's the end of the season, and I get it. There's very little, if any, playoff hope. Now, obviously, there's none. But man, you're in front of your home crowd. This is the last home game of the season. This is the last time these people are going to get to see guys like Julius Peppers. This might be the last time that we get to see TD. This is probably it for Olsen, even though he didn't play. But this is the end of the line for a lot of these guys, and for it to be so just the whole time.
Yeah.
If nothing else, that those things should have been the motivation to win this game, to send those guys off with a win at home in front of a crowd. Now, granted, the crowd was kind of disappointing. You can't lie about that, but if you at least go out and storm the beaches and really give it a shot, then I feel like people will appreciate at least that. And another thing with the offense was there was some miscues. There was a couple false starts. It's like, there was a neutral zone infraction on us on defense. I don't think that was so great. And I think the reffing overall in general today was pretty well against us. Very little, if anything, went in our favor. It seemed like there was a lot of situations where the Falcons were allowed to just play, and we were just nope. So,
Josh, I have one
really
question for you.
Kind of frustrating all the way around. because, I mean, we're beating ourselves, which is never good. But then you got the refs on top of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, can you hear Tony?
I can't even see Tony. I just got a black screen up top.
Oh, okay. He's not even on the screen. All right, so look, we'll do this, Josh. One, thanks you so much for hopping on with us today, being our eyes and ears in the stadium. We're gonna go ahead and jump into some more of the cat calls, but did you have any final statements or thoughts about your time at the Panthers game today?
I kind of guess I got a message for all of us, for all of Panther Nation. Is look, yes, the team is one of the younger ones in the NFL, which is a really kind of a relative statement. They've been around most of my life at this point. They're 20 plus years old. I don't think that's too valid, but I get it. To a lot of people, they're newer. And there's been some up and downs. There's been times where we've had a lot of success. We've lost 2 Super Bowls, but we've been to 2 Super Bowls. How many teams that are this young can say that? The Jaguars came into the league the same time as us, and they haven't made it to 2 Super Bowls. They haven't made it to the same number of championship games we had. So, really, it's just, it's rough, but stick with it, man. At the end of the day, Absolutely. You can chop it up like this. I drove almost me and my buddy here drove almost 1,000 miles to go watch this team lose, but it's like, well, that's rough, but are you just going to give up? It's going to give up hope on something that you at one point believed in. Last I checked, our team motto is keep pounding. It's to stick with it. The man who gave us that slogan, the man had cancer and he kept going to work. He didn't give up. And
100%.
You look at that, and that's supposed to be the foundation of what a Panthers fan is. That's the definition. Yes, the team was around before that, but when that phrase came to be, and that first Super Bowl year, that was the beginning of the real beginning of this franchise, I feel like. So to all y'all who are down and not feeling great about the team, and it's this ain't the end. We did the smart thing. We sat Cam for a couple games, these last 2 games, because there ain't no point to having him out there. We've got a promising draft coming up that's got a lot of players that can fill a lot of the needs that we have. So, the future's bright. We got a great owner who's serious about turning things around, it seems. So my message to everybody is to just keep pounding, stay pounding. Because, this year's over, but, man, we got a draft coming up. We got next year. We still got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We've got some great weapons around him, some guys who, once they really, truly develop, I think are going to be exciting to watch. Yeah. And really, our defense, despite their struggles, we're a pass rush away from being what we used to be, and then some. So
no doubt. I mean, and you really do hit the nail on the head. There is a lot to be hopeful for about this team. It's a bad season. It's another season down the drain, but the pieces are there. And we have fans like Josh from Massachusetts driving 1,000 miles in the rain to see the team lose to the Falcons. Josh, we love you, man. Thanks for the support. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Hey, drive safe back home, man. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Maybe you can hop on with us.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good one. And I got a drive ahead of me, so have a good one.
Be safe.
Absolutely, man. Keep pounding, man.
Damn. All right, that's Josh from Mass. Cody, you can hear me. People in the chat room said they can hear me. And interesting, here's a lesson learned for people attending their first Panthers game, and especially if you have to travel a bazillion miles. If you go in the first 5 games of the season, you're always relevant.
Yeah.
Is that, and then, but the thing is you are trying to bet your money that you're going to schedule a great game, a division game, week 15, Panthers contending for the playoffs. There's an excitement to that too, that you're hoping would be there, but you can't foresee that when you plan these trips. All right. So, great stuff from Josh from Mass. We appreciate his contribution to the C3 Panthers podcast. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Turn your phone to portrait mode. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the little bell. What we're going to do is we're going to grow Panther Nation. We're going to grow that fan base. We're going to help change that culture like the Roy and Riot has done so well. And look, the Panthers, here's a nod from the Panthers is they gave like a celebration video to Roy and Riot and to Zach Luttrell. And I think even the Panthers know at this point that it's important to coddle this fan base at this moment and to puff us up. So if you want to hit a retweet Carolina Panthers on Twitter, the C3 Panthers podcast, we're okay with that. And let's go ahead and jump back into the calls because I know the fans got plenty to say in this game, after this game.
Hey, y'all, this is G. Glossier, CP3
What's up, G?
podcast. Man, I was so amped to see this game, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. Heinicke got hurt. My injury bug has played us this whole entire year. Unfortunately, the dude looked pretty good, but his 2 interceptions is just wasn't our year, unfortunately. I mean, I'm hurt because I really, really thought that we was going to win these 2 games. Minnesota was going to lose, and I really thought that we were going to get that 6th seed, but unfortunately, we won't.
Wow.
We'll miss the damn playoffs, again.
That's a true fan. Jesus,
and I just saw, through social media that Rivera's coming back next year. My opinion, like I said before, I want to fire his ass. I don't want him to come back. I believe he lost the team, but maybe Tepper sees something in Rivera that we don't see as fans, So keep pounding, and I can't believe we got swept by the damn pussy-ass Atlanta Falcons. I cannot stand
Hell
it.
yeah,
but
man.
you know what? The hell with it, man. This wasn't our year, so off to the draft and everything like that. Y'all keep pounding.
G. Cavassier, look at that. Is that man right there? He won't giving up at all on this season. He's sitting there looking at the Panthers trying to find a way with a backup quarterback to make the playoffs and find some action later on. But he said at the end, this just turned out this wasn't our season. It's sad though, because people said in the chat room, I saw this, and this is something that Cody has said over and over on repeat on this podcast. And that is, these guys don't have unlimited careers. Cam Newton is not going to be here forever in his prime. And you've talked about wasting away the good years of Cam Newton. And this is twofold, wasting away potentially on not surrounding him with the best coaches, not a great quarterbacks coach in the beginning and Ken Dorsey, limitations on the offensive coordinator. Now you go and you try to repair that by bringing in the old hat Norv Turner. It looks like it's helped. But again, you see that not giving him an offensive line. On top of that, let's remember this, folks, that not only have we not had an offensive line for the last 6 years, we haven't had an offense outside of Cam. So finally, we're just seeing a team that has an offense that has some players that can contribute other than just Cam Newton making everybody offensive line and wide receivers look better than they truly are. So I saw that Tim Tizzy noted that there's going to be 34 players in contract years this season. So the Carolina Panthers it's time for, it looks like a big rehaul, a retool, new faces, new names. But I think it's time to go ahead and protect our assets, specifically Luke Kuechly being the most important and only defensive asset worth protecting at this moment. Cam Newton clearly, and now Christian McCaffrey. It's time to see some of these guys and what they can do. And maybe if there is a criticism of the Carolina Panthers right here is why didn't we see some of these other players like Rashawn Golden, Marquise Haynes was a healthy scratch today. Why are we not trying to do more player evaluation in these last 2 weeks when the writing is on the wall? The number's 252-228-5098. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast.
Hey, guys. Hey, Tony. Hey, Cody. Hey, Panthers Nation. It's Nova Black calling out this game. Black. We lost to the Falcons, man, at home. Wow. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk the ins and out of the game. There's 7 in a row. Nobody's seen that coming. But Taylor Heinicke did really good driving the ball down the field. Christian McCaffrey. Do I need to say anything more? I mean,
no.
At least, God dag it, we get a good draft pick again, like I said, next year. So, hey, you guys keep pounding, keep bringing the podcast, man, keep bringing the heat, keep looking at the film and breaking things down and, you know, bringing all that good inside information to Panthers Nation that common fans don't really know much about.
We got you, Nova.
Of things like defensive plays and the mistakes that were made and all that other good stuff. Y'all have a great day. See you guys next Sunday. See you guys Tuesday.
Man, thank you, Nova Black. Man, way to keep pounding there. And to speaking of some of those things, what we saw today is, again, I did not see us looking at a lot of the younger players. What I saw today was Thomas Davis yelling or talking junk with Captain Munderland on the sideline. To me, that's a sign that, like, Cap, first of all, probably got to know your place when you're talking to Thomas Davis. Number two, that why aren't we trying to find out a little bit more about Corn Elder? And we're talking about defensive mistakes. The big one was that one play, 75-yard touchdown by Calvin Ridley, where Dante Jackson and 14-year veteran Mike Adams were not on the same page. And from the way the broadcast made it look, until we go back and look at all the footage, maybe ask Ron Rivera in some post games, that was on Mike Adams making a mistake. So this team is the question is, have they quit out there? I don't think they've quit, but it sure seemed like the Atlanta Falcons had more to play for today. And that's surprising given that they had a worse record than us.
Yeah, I mean, they were already eliminated from playoff contention. Look, let's be real. Neither of these two teams are playoff football teams. But technically, before today, we were not eliminated from playoff contention. They had already been. And, yeah, you're right. They were a feistier football team that came out more dynamic. And also, listen, let's just be real as to what it is. You know, we're not a fan of Matt Ryan, but if you're picking your fantasy football team, who are you picking as your quarterback, Matt Ryan or Taylor Heinicke? I think we're probably picking – yeah, okay. I mean, we had an offense that had no chance. But, the defense didn't do any favors when they knew that our offense wasn't going to be able to put up a bunch of points. So, I don't know, man. There's a lot of problems on the team right now. And I definitely do think that, that they didn't have a fire lit under their asses today because they knew that they didn't have anything to play for since Cam Newton wasn't out on the field.
Well, that's really disheartening to me, Cody, because I do think that if you were able to put the younger guys in, I understand that a team full of veterans that are already looking ahead to next season, that are looking at the rehabs, that thinking about off-season surgeries or whatever that they've been hiding and dealing with, or potential contract negotiations, free agency. I understand those guys being disheartened, especially when you look up into the stands and no one's there. But that's why I think you can bring in the young players here and give them a 100% opportunity to go out there and play. And you didn't even see, look, Cameron Artis-Payne, they asked Cameron Artis-Payne finally to go out there and make some plays. And you got to think of this, is he's got a 3-play audition for the offseason. So I think that you can generate some of that excitement by trying to put some guys in some real situations instead of Captain Munderland out there and more Mike Adams. At this point, those guys are gone. They are done from this team. It's time to find out if Rashawn Golden and Eric Reed could be a workable combo going forward. It's time to learn and I think we did learn a little bit about Ian Thomas, but that's not even the coaches making a decision. That's decision by default because of Greg Olson's injury. So it's really surprising to me that we're not more interested in the evaluation process. I understand Thomas Davis as well as Julius Peppers, tip of the cap for the fumble recovery today and getting to know them. But I don't understand why we don't just put Luke Kuechly in shrink wrap at this point, bubble wrap, and try to protect him because he is our most important asset on the defense. And really, other than KK Short, who missed his first game of his career, is the only one worth caring about at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there are players that were playing today. I mean, the amount of – and I saw that you tweeted this out, too, during the football game. You know, Christian McCaffrey was out there for so long, and we're not playing for anything, and yet we're still just putting the ball in his hands and putting the ball in his hands. Yeah, I definitely understand. But Tyler Lovato in our YouTube chat wants to know to us, what do you do first round in the draft? Do you go offensive line and defensive line? And Tony, I want to know your answer, but to everyone in our YouTube chat, tell us what you think. Do you think that we should go offensive line first round in the draft, or are we in more need of a better pass rusher to fill out the team? But for right now, Tony, I'll pose that question to you, my brother.
My answer is 100% defensive line to get a top 10 pick there. Unless here, we'll have to go and grade all the left tackle. If somehow the type of left tackle player that you draft in the top 5 is available there at like 7 or 8, if there is a player like that who is a guy that you believe could be a 10-year starter in the league at left tackle, I do believe you go ahead and make that move there. I don't believe you're going to be able to find a left tackle in the second round that you have that confidence in. But if you don't have that confidence in a left tackle future kind of, if you think this guy is still part project, I say you go defensive end and you find a way to meet those needs more in free agency. And I think you could do this is I think you can find a good center, a good guard, in the second, third, fourth rounds a little bit easier than you can find a pass rusher who is going to be a productive player in the short term.
Yeah, and I think the mindset, and I've even seen Scott Thomas say this in the YouTube chat, switch Moton to left tackle and Darrell Williams at right tackle. So how much are you going to pay Darrell Williams? Darrell Williams had one good year in 2017, and now he's coming off of a year where he didn't play since Dallas in game 1. So, you know, how much money is Darrell Williams going to ask for, and how much money are the Panthers going to be willing to give him? If Darrell Williams does come back, I am a fan of that. It just depends. I've started to look at a few of the players in the draft, and there are at least 2 offensive tackles right now that I would love to have on the Panthers in the first round. That's Jonah Williams out of Alabama and a man named Yadni Kajust, a left tackle out of West Virginia. And he's a mauler, man. It's a little up and down in the chat. The chat saying, you know, some saying offensive line, some defensive, some saying both. I think you all know where I stand at this point, man. There are some incredible pass rushers that you can find later on in the draft. I say it's time to protect Cam Newton. Spend a premium pick on the offensive line. Let's never have to think about our left tackle ever again. That's what I'm saying, man. I want to move on.
Well, you know, it's so much easier said than done. It's so much easier said than done. And I put this out is think about the guy who is, what is the left tackle for the Atlanta Falcons? He was like a number 3 pick, and he was one of the most touted prospects coming out of the draft. And it took him 2 years before he acclimated. So I guess what I do believe this is that, you better be sure that first round, if you got a top 10 pick, you can't miss. You cannot afford to miss on the top 10 pick. I do believe it's probably a little bit easier, though, to nail some very productive and important players at center and guard in the second and third round. I do think I expect the Carolina Panthers to double dip on offensive linemen and defensive linemen. In fact, we have triple dipped on cornerbacks, and it's been terrible at this point. Right now is that this should be a draft where there's 7 picks made, and 6 out of the 7 picks are linemen, and then maybe you pick like a backup quarterback in the last round or something. So it's tough. The Panthers got a lot of work to do. The number's 252-228-5098. Here's your next call.
Hey, guys, this is Carl Van, and I just got something I want to say. It's time to get rid of Ron Rivera. It's time to get rid of the entire coaching staff. Get rid of all of them. Get rid of every last one of them. I'm going to tell you why. Because that offensive line and that secondary did not come to play football today. They don't care about Ron Rivera's job. They don't care about it. And I'm going to tell you that's on the players. But Ron Rivera set that atmosphere a long time ago. He's always been too buddy with the players. We need somebody who is an authoritative figure that'll come in and put his foot up asses. They knew his job was on the line today. They did not come to play. When you go on Thursday night football in front of national TV and you fall asleep on the sidelines, what does that tell you? Think about that for a second. We do not have enough discipline in that locker room, and we need a football coach that's going to come in and is going to steal that.
I think that's a good point.
I don't care how good of a locker room guy is. That's his Achilles heel right there. You know, that's a double-edged sword. He might be a good locker room guy, but we need somebody to instill some fear in these guys. I don't like what I'm seeing. Get rid of everybody. Get rid of all of them. Top to bottom, start over. I don't care who we put in there. I'm tired of seeing this bullshit on the field.
You know, this is thanks, Carl, for the call. We understand and recognize your frustration. And one of the things that is that for so long, Ron Rivera, players coach, number one, and number two, was able to corral and keep that morale up late in the year. It seems like this is the first year, and really after the Super Bowl, I believe things made a turn. I think Ron Rivera made a turn as a head coach where he became slightly more entitled and believing that what he was doing was responsible for the Panthers' success, and he continued to point blame on the players more and more each and every press conference. But right now, watching the press conferences from Ron Rivera has been painful. Watching this team in this skid has kind of been painful. And today I don't even know if I'm that upset. Is maybe I'm most upset that the defense did not play and respond like they did last week against the Saints. It seemed like we were able to get up for that game. We weren't able to do that. Knowing this the Panthers offense was working with what they had, I felt like it's a really tough position. And I am a little startled that the reports coming out that Ron's safe before today's game, Cody.
Yeah, I am too. And I mean, honestly, and I said this earlier, I'm not 100% buying it, to be honest. Again, I don't know where Ian Rappaport is getting his information from. Maybe it's the best source ever, but I don't know. I just don't think, I don't know what conversations Ron Rivera and David Tepper have had that assures Tepper that Ron Rivera is the guy for the future. And to be fair to Carl, listen, man, I don't think anything he said was wrong. I mean, we have guys that, you even said it earlier, Tony, before Carl called in, that our defense was flat. And why is that? Is that not a coaching thing? When your players don't show up with a mean streak in them, wanting to punch someone in the mouth, that's not always on the players. That's on the coaches. And then also, think about how many times in 2015, when our defense was supposedly the best it's ever been, that we let teams come all the way back on us. There's been a problem with our defense of just bending and not breaking at the very ending of the football game, being dominant to start out, but then just folding at the very end. That's on Ron Rivera. That's not acceptable anymore. That's why I don't understand this, Ron Rivera, he'll be here next year. I mean, If he is, he is. I think it's the wrong move, but I don't know where that comes from, and I don't know how David Tepper has made that decision already.
Yeah, that's a good point. How has he made that decision already? Is that for me, Cody? Is that I understand your position of it? Is that bringing back Ron Rivera is the wrong move? But I think that also is that's only half of the puzzle. It also is the other piece of the equation is who replaces him. So unless we are really confident in the direction that we're going, it's kind of like one of those things. Making a change to make a change could be problematic. At the same time, though, if you are doing it out of complacency or fear or whatever it may be, that's a different story. So is that we will know more when we start to see some of the hires, the fires that are going on, and to see where Carolina's at and how they approach this. But things right now is no matter what the Ian Rappaport thing says, is that nobody feels particularly safe in Carolina other than Cam Newton. And what was your impression before we go to the next call of Cam Newton's demeanor on the sidelines? Looked like, for me, Cody, the way his demeanor it looked like a kid who was sick, on Christmas.
Well, it was a little bit of two things. It was a little bit of Cam Newton being the excellent teammate that he's always been. He had the Heinicke shirt on in support of Taylor, and he was celebrating more than Taylor was after Taylor threw his first NFL touchdown. So you had Cam Newton being an excellent teammate, but also it's Cam Newton, the competitor, and the division rival, probably our most hated division rival, is on the field putting up points on us, and is helpless to do anything. I mean, those are his guys out there on the field. Of course, Cam Newton wants to play, and is disappointed that he's not out there with his brothers being able to, play Panther football. So, yeah, I know he was upset, but I want my quarterback to be upset about him not being on the field.
Yeah, it's kind of just tough to see him over there. He's dealing with it. I do think you learned a lot about him as a competitor, and that is that he just always wants to be on the field, and a testament. Maybe that's why it's been so hard to sit him to this point. Really interesting things, and I'm going to go ahead and play the next call. I want you to think about this question. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. My question to you in the chat room, as well as to you, Cody, but while I play this next call, is who should get that touchdown ball? Ian Thomas with his first NFL reception, or Heinicke with his first NFL passing touchdown? Who should get that ball? How do we figure that out? What do you do in that situation? The number is 252-228-5098. Here's your next call.
Hey, what's going on? Cat Chronicles is DJ Raleigh. Another week, another loss.
I hear you, DJ.
Sad, we're getting used to this. But Taylor played as good as he could today. I mean, he got hurt, and then we had to put dude in from the practice squad. So, but he's a backup, and Taylor's a backup, so I knew going in, it was what it was. He made some mistakes. Just honestly, I'm just ready for the season to be over. I don't even know what to say at this point. It's just our Panther fandom is just, I'm still here, but
yeah.
And I appreciate you guys being there after every game. You guys are great. Good to talk to.
Problem.
Defense, they got burnt by Calvin Ridley a whole bunch of times. This all season, we need to revamp this whole defense. Go younger, build around Dante Jackson and Luke, get rid of Poe, get rid of Cap. In the offensive line, we need to grab some offensive linemen. It's just, even when our backup is getting hurt, we got a problem. But love the show. Keep pounding Panther Nation forever.
All right, so I think that call captures a lot of things right here. What we know is that continued offensive line is a problem, but this defense right now, it's time for a new page in the defense. And Luke Kuechly now becoming the old hat on that defense and now tied to build around younger players. Good news, though, I thought James Bradberry has played pretty well in the last 2 weeks, given his struggles earlier in this stretch. I think that's a good news, but probably for all we know is James Bradberry. Actually, he's entering a contract year this year. He was a second-round pick, so that makes him a fourth-year player that comes up for his rookie contract. But, man, this defense.
I think Bradberry has one more year after this one.
Right. So next year being his contract, so he'll play. So next year should be theoretically his best season if he wants to get paid.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
But here is that when, you know what is upsetting to me about that call is because I feel this is I was thinking about this before the show. I saw someone, a Panther fan that I know and respect and I know is as hardcore as you can get. And they said, I'm just having so much trouble getting excited about this game today. There is a defeatist feeling at this point, a defeated feeling. And I don't think I even felt this in 2016 after the Carolina Panthers suffered the hangover season. This one has just felt like, man, we don't got what it takes.
It does feel that way. But at the same time, listen, I don't want to make it sound like our fan base is so much worse in this kind of scenario. Listen, I maintain that the Falcons have one of the most front-runner fan bases in all of the NFL. They'll be, doing good in their season, and their fans start leaving the stadium, okay? So it's not like the Panthers are the only team fan base that does this. But yeah, listen, when there's nothing to play for, I mean, now you're trying to find a reason to enjoy the football game today. For me personally, it was thinking about Julius Peppers and Thomas Davis, this potentially being the final game they'll play in Bank of America Stadium as a Panther. And, I wanted to cherish that moment. For others, it's, thinking about, the draft pick or just whatever it is, But we're not the only fan base that gets down on ourselves. And I think one of the things that makes it so disappointing is that we do have a talented football team. I mean, if you look at the amount of times we lost by 3 points, man, just
6 points.
One thing goes the wrong way and the whole thing crumbles. So, starting 6-2, the only team to ever lose 7 in a row after going 6-2. I mean, it really is embarrassing after our hopes were bolstered so high, then to just have, the air just deflated from us. It feels bad.
I keep thinking about this tweet from this stupid Bucks podcast or Bucks website or something. I forget who it was, and I don't really care who they are. But they put up a tweet at the beginning of the season, and it put the Panthers last in the division. 6-10 was their call. And then I was like, first of all, shut the hell up. From the beginning of the season, I was saying that. Second, I do want to remind that we won't be last in the division. And third is the fact that what's really upsetting is that we're really going to be 6-10 after starting 6-2. It's unfucking believable that tweet has tortured me all damn season long. And it looked like the joke was on them. Then the joke turned out to be on us. It's tough, man. It's tough. And right now, I do think, like you said, is how do you get excited when Ron Rivera more of the same at this point? And all I can hope is that even your curse. The number's 252-228-5098.
Oh, by the way, I hope everybody sees what life is like without fucking Cam Newton.
Amen.
Say that shit.
So
say that shit.
Everybody that hates on Cam Newton, I just want you to see what life is like without him.
Yep.
That offensive
makes
line
everybody
is
better.
Trash. Heinicke didn't have a chance today.
He's 6'1". He's bigger than Drew Brees. And he didn't play bad considering the time he had in the fucking pocket. Man, it's just ridiculous. If this is the same coaching staff we have going into 2019, I don't even know what to tell y'all. It's going to be another disaster. It's going to be another disaster.
Look,
and that's all I can think about to say right now.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking pissed off. I expected better than this.
You know, a tough game. Yeah, and it looked like everybody had quit at this point. It looked like they got jazzed up for the first quarter. And look, it's actually, I don't like to say that. I don't like to say because, man, I saw Eric Reed out there playing pretty hard. I saw Luke Kuechly always playing hard. I saw Julius Peppers for his old ass playing hard. I saw Kyle Love getting after it. But there was a collective feeling, though, that the Panthers, I think there was a point once that Taylor Heinicke got hurt, once that big play from Calvin Ridley, that there was no coming back after that. But this goes to show you this is, yes, what a crazy thing, Cody, in that the idea that we can be so hypercritical of a Cam Newton, right? And trying to say he's not elite, he's top 10, he's not top 10, he's not top 5, he's not like all of that. And then you realize this is that you don't know what you got until it's gone. And like he said in the call, Taylor Heinicke played admirably. I think he played very tough. I thought that is that once you saw the injury was bothering him tremendously, but is that this is what happens. You are able to be hypercritical of your quarterback when he's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, listen, and it's hard for me to not sound full of myself and come on here and toot my own horn, man. But I have been saying forever and ever and ever and ever and ever that this offensive line is fucking bullshit, man. It's a bad offensive line. It's not average. It's a bad offensive line. And it takes the backup quarterback to come in before everyone's like, oh, man, Taylor Heinicke doesn't have time to throw the ball. Yeah, no shit. I've been saying it for 6 weeks now. It's a bad offensive line. I've been right the whole time. Sorry, Carl. Sorry, Brandon. I've been right the whole time. It's a bad offensive line. And we're never going to be able to do anything unless we have an offensive line that can pass protect. Period. I mean, that's as far as it goes. So,
well,
I mean, yeah.
Well, you've been saying it for 6 weeks. I've been saying it for 6 seasons, Cody. All right. The number is 252-228-5098.
Hey, guys. It's Chris, Panthers fan 13 on YouTube. Going from 6-2 to 6-9 and probably 6-10 Ron needs to be fired. This is bullshit. They need to do something. I hope that Rappaport, what he reported is not true because there needs to be a change. I hope Tepper saw that a lot of the fans were leaving the stadium during the game because they've had enough. And there needs to be a change or a lot of people aren't going to watch. And a lot of people won't renew their season tickets. So stuff's got to get done. Yeah. Do you guys think he ends up getting fired? Let me know. And always, you guys do a great job. Keep pounding.
All right, I think Cody's been all over it, is that while the reports out there is that we don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And right now there's still another game. We are on a historically bad slide. 7 straight losses. Looks like it's going to be 8. And if anybody thinks that it's going to be otherwise, to go on the road with an injured Taylor Heinicke to win this is just ridiculous. I would think to believe is it possible? Yeah, I guess it's possible for me to sleep with a supermodel tomorrow, but likely I doubt it. So so we don't know. And I think that right now is that there isn't a lot to be happy with anything at this point. The roster looks like is not good enough, filled out well enough at this point to compete for the long term, and the coaching staff has not put us in position to win. So let's keep going with your next call.
Hi, this is Paul D. I'm calling in the middle of the show. I'm not sure if I caught the show late.
We got you, brother.
So maybe my cat call again in today. If not, it'll be whenever. Oh, Tony, when is we having the? Are y'all gonna do anything this week? A podcast?
Think I'm shooting for Wednesday.
Like I said, I came in late, so I don't know. Let me know. Oh, by the way, Cody. I mean, a left tackle is not always a home run hit. I mean, there's been a lot of good left tackles in college that were drafted high and didn't make it. Like, what's that one dude, Jason Smith? Is an example that the Rams drafted real high, and he turned out to be a then there's Greg Robinson, another Rams left tackle they drafted to be he was great in college, and he's not having a good year. There's a couple of left tackles, so if we're going to draft the left tackle that high, we got to make sure we do all the good daggone scouting on him. That's why I'm thinking defensive end. Well, defensive end is the same thing, so
yeah.
I mean,
the hardest position to land in the draft.
To draft a tackle and a defensive end that high in the draft. So, so you guys let me know what you think. And, that one caller talking about Ron needs to go. Yep. Fire Hope. Fire everybody. And fans, come on, guys. Let's welcome change. Let's stop being afraid of change. Let's get some change up in there, a new attitude. So we go back to being the Panthers that we used to be, going out and feasting on all NFC South foes. All right, guys. Cardi signing out.
All right. So real quick, before we go forward and we talk about Carl's cat call, in our chat room, there's a man by the name of Pigskin Pete. And whenever I'm in his chat room, he's always kind enough to give the C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles podcast a shout out. So I'm going to return the favor to him. He does a Clemson Tiger podcast, and he talks about everything NCAA football. He's a great YouTuber, and YouTubers got to show each other some love. So go check out Pigskin Pete. He's a great YouTuber. And, man, check him out. As far as Carl D and what he's saying, listen, your front office has to do what I call the due diligence. They have to make sure that the player they draft, they're going to be able to hang their hat on that player, whether it's a defensive end, whether it's a left tackle, no matter who it is. You're going to find examples everywhere of a player that didn't turn out for another, 3 or 4 years, or maybe they were a 1-year wonder and then nothing after that. You have to make sure that you know the player you're drafting. That can't put fear inside of you, though. You can't say, oh, well, the Falcons drafted a left tackle and he didn't turn out, so you should avoid that in the first round. No, you have to have faith in who you're drafting. And not every player is the same. I hate to make a comparison saying that what another player couldn't do is the same thing for this player when it's an entirely different person. I mean, you have to judge them on their own merits. So, I mean, I would love an offensive line in the first round. I'm not mad at the defensive line either. But, we have holes to fill on both sides of the football, Carl. So either one I'm not mad at in the first round. I just want us to hit the pick the right person for the job.
You can't afford to miss a first-round pick, especially when it's in the top 10. That's kind of unforgivable. The good news is Marty Herney's pretty good at nailing the first round. But I think this is that what we see from that call, Cody, and what from your response is that these are the two hardest positions to draft, period, defensive end as well as left tackle in the NFL. Let's point out that Matt Khalil was a number 4 pick overall, and look at how trash he is.
Trash.
So is that it is, and I would like to think that all these teams have done their due diligence, but it is one of those things. These are positions that are hard to project. Is that you see a guy and you see what he can do in college, and it looks good, and you're like, if he can follow that trajectory, things would be great. but then you throw in an injury or two, or the very fact is that, like I'm saying, from what we saw without Cam, for all the people that are so critical about Cam Newton, is that the dip from a premier player in the NFL to a second level player, and then thinking of that as a dip from Cam Newton to a third or fourth tier player is so big. We're talking from a top 10 quarterback to the next level quarterback is a big drop off. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult. We've got to nail this first round pick. We got to have a flawless draft, but more importantly, what we really need is a flawless free agency. I think that it's hard to rely on rookies. I think you're excited that if they produce, and you're optimistic and you're happy about them, but you cannot think about all the players that we have going back to Shaq Thompson, Vernon Butler, all these big time top tier players in theory, a long time coming before they actually hit. So you've got to have both draft and free agency. You're listening to C3 Panthers post-game show. Panthers fell to the Atlanta Falcons. I think the saddest part is that we got swept by the damn Falcons this year. That's pretty damn troublesome. Number's 252-228-5098.
Tony, Cody, Joey, if you're there. I am sad.
That's it. I am sad. Next call.
I'm sad.
Hi, this is Carl D again. I wasn't going to call back until I heard that one caller saying fire the whole staff. You know what? He said some good points. And I agree with him. I myself am tired of the BS. You know, I'm tired of running with the same old lame AWS excuses, missed opportunity, couple of plays away from a different outcome, blah, blah, blah. And, man, if the reports is true, we got one more year that we, as Panther fans, have to go through to hear this crap. It's killing me. Tony and Cody is killing me. Having to listen to this man. He don't take no responsibility for nothing. And as far as the players, if the players have stopped playing for him, it's because, hell, they tired of him throwing them under the bus and not taking responsibility for his actions. And like you were saying, Tony, before, since that Super Bowl, it does seem like he has an entitlement that his way is the best way and no other way possible. He don't know how to make adjustments. And you know what, Ron? You need to get with the times, man. Jesus, Tony. One more year with this guy? This crap? Okay.
Cody started the show. Cody started the show by saying this: how do you get excited if this is going to be Ron Rivera back again? And I think that where we began is where we finished. Is that right now it looks like Ron Rivera has not improved as a coach. This team has not improved as the season's gone on. And look, is that we can talk about injuries, we can talk about this, but doesn't every other team in the NFL have to play a full season? Don't they go through injuries as well? There's been some mistakes made in the front office, and those are dating back to Gettleman. And God bless Heinicke for coming in and having a fantastic draft. You look at Ian Thomas today, man, he looked great.
Yeah, the heir apparent to Greg Olsen, dare I say. That was a steal in the fourth round. And now all the talks is that Greg wants to come back. Greg doesn't feel he's done playing football. So
that's crazy.
I mean, and again, there are so many questions going forward on this team. Listen, does anyone question that we love Thomas Davis, that we love Greg Olsen, that we love Ryan Khalil? I mean, these guys mean so much to us. We love this football team, and that's why we get so frustrated when we lose. But at the same time, and now we don't like David Gettleman very much because of some bad draft picks and some bad decisions that were made. And hey, I understand that. But partly the reason why we all believe that David Gettleman was fired is because he wanted to move on from the older players. And he had the idea in his mind that, it's best to move on when they have a little bit left than than to hold them too long and they're playing when they have nothing left at all. So, and that's something that you have to do when you're a general manager, and we raped David Gettleman over hot coals for that. So it's something. It's something that you have
good
to be
and
able
bad.
to do.
He was good and bad. He did some good things, Dave Gettleman, and he did some things that I felt like he put himself in a poor position. Specifically when he, cut Steve Smith and he forced himself to then go and get Kelvin Benjamin. I thought he backed himself into a corner. And then likewise the following season when they had that weird unceremonious parting with Josh Norman, and then you have to draft 3 corners in the second through 4th round, and James Bradbury is the only one still on the team. So there's some really good things he did as well. He came in there, he put us together some rosters that made us competitive in years that we were in salary cap hell. So it wasn't all good, it wasn't all bad, but right now it turns out that Dave Gettleman was better at putting together a professional roster throughout the season than he was in drafting. And it's sad is that the guys just haven't worked out as well as we want. Cody, we got one last call and it's over, and we're going to get back together. Hopefully we're going to circle back up after Christmas if anybody can do that. Here's the last call of the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Nick. Hey, drove down with Josh, and I have to say I've been a New England fan all my life, so for 27 years, even before they were great. But thinking about moving down to Carolina, and always loved the Panthers as long as I've seen them and heard Josh talk about them and everything.
All right.
Haven't really seen too many of their games, but today it was a little rough. I think the biggest thing was the refs weren't on our side. It seemed like every step that we made and everything that we did, it wasn't good enough and that sort of deal. The one that really got to me was the false start call, and then you had the guys rushing, our QB ended up getting hurt. So what's the deal with that? And then just Heinicke couldn't get a pass off, but I think 3/4 of that has to be the fact that he wasn't really able to practice at all this week. So
yeah,
but love the city, love the game. Definitely coming down next year at least a couple of times. Definitely going to be going to a couple games. So keep pounding, guys.
Keep bringing your tax money to North Carolina. We appreciate that. And we did get one good call from the ref, or we got one favorable call, and that was the Dante Jackson when he was in fisticuffs with that running back number 32. Is that call went against the Falcons, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at this point, calls, whatever, man. I don't.
Who cares about the refs?
Yeah, I don't think that the calls lost us that game. But listen, man, Charlotte is the fastest growing city in the Southeast. I hated that the weather was so bad for you guys because Charlotte. I live here.
Today was beautiful, though.
Yeah, earlier on today, it really was beautiful, but it's a beautiful city, man. I live here in Charlotte. I'm smack dab in the middle of it. I love this city. And listen, David Tepper, regardless of whatever decision he makes with Ron Rivera, I have faith that he is going to do the right things for this football team. Listen, it's not a bad thing to have faith in this football team. And if you jumped on as a fan right now, no one would ever say you're a bandwagon fan because you jump on the bandwagon when the team's doing good, and we are not doing good. So listen, man, we welcome new fans with open arms. Thank you for calling into the show. Tony, I found something online that's short, 4-second video, and I think this might be a good note to end the show on. So I'm going to... This appears to be Ryan Khalil sending his final goodbye to Panther fans at Bank of America Stadium.
All 12 of them.
Yeah, all 12 of the fans in Bank of America.
I mean, I don't blame it. But yeah, look, a franchise player right there. He's been so important to the offensive line when he hasn't been there. It's been untenable. So, tip of the cap to him. I hope he takes his brother with him. Sadly, that's a low blow. That's a low blow. Thank you for what you've done for Charlotte. Thank you for what you've done for the Carolina Panthers. You've been tremendous. Last year with that weird neck injury, I was not expecting this season to be one of 100% health. I think he's missed part of one game, and that's it.
Yeah, and listen, offensive linemen, you hear us talk about it, and you talk about offensive linemen when they're not doing their job. But, unless you're a super fan of football, even when they're doing their job incredible, offensive linemen never really get a lot of love. But I think Ryan Khalil has been one of the best centers in football throughout his entire career. And he's been here since Jake Delhomme. He's been through bad seasons. And Cam Newton has personally said how much Ryan Khalil means to him being under, having him be the center, the guy that gives him the ball every play. That's a real connection that you have on the football field, I don't know, man. It's tough. As I said, you want to have your roster get younger, but it doesn't mean that these guys mean any less to us. They've been incredible for us. And, if this is how it goes out for Khalil and Peppers, it's a sad day, but it doesn't change what they mean to the franchise and the fans.
A lot of Pro Bowls between the two of them, no Super Bowls. I saw Steve Reed from the AP. He said this just shows how difficult it is to win a Super Bowl in the NFL. You're searching and you're searching, you're searching for one. It wasn't the Panthers' year, unfortunately, for that. But again, you're talking about a player who has meant a lot to this team and this organization that's going to leave a big hole to fill next season. Yeah. And I don't believe that you can just expect Tyler Larsen to be the answer there. That's like asking Amina Solatulu, depending on him to play guard or whatever. Is that I'm not saying that the guy's not a good player or that he doesn't want to or can't do the job. It's just is that you cannot put yourself in a position where that's the only option. So look, we got still more to talk about. Not today. We're going to come back and hopefully Cody can join me on Wednesday after Christmas and circle back and keep the weekly thing up. If not, we'll find a way to work out a show in this week coming up. I want to take the time to say thank you to Cody and wish you a Merry Christmas, my friend. It's been a pleasure doing this with you each and every week this season so far. And all I can say is that I think the C3 Panthers podcast is better with you a part of it.
Thank you so much, brother. All the love in the world. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Like I said, man, Carl Diddy says I forgot about the little people in the YouTube chat, but I swear I haven't. But I was one of you at one point. I was in the chat room doing cat calls. But I love what you and Joey have done with this show, and it's been absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for having me on, brother. I look forward to this every Sunday and every Tuesday. And I hope you and your family have a wonderful Merry Christmas and a happy New Year, man.
Yeah, thank you to all the people listening on YouTube right now, on Facebook, on Periscope. I know that this has been a tough season, and this last 7 game skid has been one of the tougher ones in recent memory. But look, is that first of all, what are we going to do? What are we going to stop watching football? Are we going to leave the game early? No. I stayed at I watched the Saints in 2010 beat us 33-3. And I stayed to the end on that because is that we put a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of tears, and a lot of our personal money to go there. Look, Josh from Mass drove all the way from Massachusetts to go to this game. What a tremendous story. How many Panther fans have made those types of commitments, those types of sacrifices because they really just enjoy this? And I thank each and every one of you for making that sacrifice, making that commitment to this podcast, you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead and just remember that we're going to keep doing this each and every week, good, bad, indifferent. We will find a way to get through it together. And one year we're going to hoist the Lombardi together and think about all those wonderful moments, or that all of the pain that went into that. We live, die, sweat, cry, and celebrate with this team, and we'll continue to do that. So go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and be a part of the show via Shindig, via the cat calls, 252-228-5098. We'll be back here after Christmas, y'all. You enjoy your families and you have a good time. And you remember this is that football, fans make football more than a kid's game. And on Christmas, even though this isn't a happy one for Carolina Panther fans, is that this is that we're going to be back next week. And like Josh from Mass said, the motto for real is keep pounding. Cody, I'll see you after Christmas, my friend.
Thank you so much, man. Absolutely. See you after Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everybody in the chat. All the diehard faithfuls, Tim Tizzy, Josh from Mass, Rex Smith, Legacy Lynn, J-Dog. We love you all. Have a wonderful Christmas and a happy holidays. And we're going to keep on pounding. We hope you'll join us and be with us along for the ride. Much love.
And to all, a good night.
To all, a good night.
Subscribe to the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or anywhere you can catch an RSS feed. Check out CarolinaCatChronicles.com for the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective.
Great cash, homie.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.